cast your minds to the 2000s and early 2010s, before we scrolled through streaming services with seemingly endless options, and these DVD wallets were a true gateway to a world of entertainment, filled with the forgotten art of straight-to-video animated movies. Whether they were disturbing fever dreams or sparkly glorified toy commercials, when there were no other options, we'd play these on repeat. And before Greta Gerwig blessed us with the blockbuster movie of our dreams, starting in 2001, Mattel launched a new entertainment division as more children were gluing to TVs than toys, and Barbie subsequently became the queen of the animated straight-to-DVD movie. There's something so nostalgic about these movies. The early CGI locations that only this era could deliver in that fever dreamish liminal feeling, the awkward editing and animations, the sparkly magical stories. Something is so distinctly chaotic yet beautiful about the animated Barbie movies, especially those first ones from the early 2000s. And if you know me, you'll know that I love fairies and all things whimsical, and Fairytopia is the Barbie world I remember most vividly. So join me as we uncover one of Barbie's most iconic 2000s endeavours by revisiting the films, books, dolls, games and websites, the depth of lore, and the stage play. No, literally, there's like a live Fairytopia musical in an exploration of Barbie Fairytopia. As I'd said, Barbie's animated endeavours had begun in the early 2000s, and prior to Fairytopia, 4 movies had released yearly: The Nutcracker, Rapunzel, Swan Lake, and feminist masterpiece, Princess and the Pauper. Each of these were adaptations of classic fairy tales and had Barbie as the actress behind the films, so it was kind of a fictional world within a fictional world, where Barbie was also telling these stories to her little sister. So unlike other toy-based movies and cartoons, there was no overarching story or continuity, which when you think of Barbie as more of a concept and a gateway to your imagination, I think that makes a lot of sense. Barbie is the actress in the hands of every kid who plays with her, so it makes so much sense for her to be the actress in these cinematic worlds. But unlike these princess films, a new original story that would increase Barbie's animated output kind of ushered in a new direction for the BCU. In the early 2000s, Mattel would introduce a new Barbie line called Fairytopia that would coincide with development for the new film, which was anticipated to be their most successful yet. And the screenwriter Elise Allen had proposed an entire trilogy that would go on to enchant its audience to a magical world of fairies.
Barbie stars in a magical adventure. Barbie Fairytopia on DVD and video. Barbie plays the beautiful fairy Alina, who lives in a flower. Hi, Peony.
In March 2005, Barbie Fairytopia would release on DVD and VHS. Fairytopia is a whimsical, colourful land inhabited by fairies and magical creatures, said to exist just through the rainbow from the world we know. It's unclear whether this acts as a portal or gateway that only opens every so often, or whether it's hiding in our world, small to the human eye. While there are theories that connect every Barbie movie, they're not necessarily within the same narrative, so the fairy world is its own mystical, dreamlike realm without humans, and it's divided into 7 regions, each with their own guardian, but collectively ruled by the Enchantress. This film follows our protagonist, Elena, a fairy born without wings.
I don't know, what? Nothing. Who'd want to call a wingless fairy?
So yes, no one is actually called Barbie in this film despite the name. She is just the figure, the concept. She lives in a huge flower called Peony that sings to her in the magic meadow. This imagery is how I associate Fairytopia in my head, with these specific shades of pink and green and the huge flowers complete with that low budget 2000s CGI crisp. But it's also that fuzzy look that makes it so nostalgic and enhances that childlike imagination. So the guardian of the magic meadow, Topaz, is said to have been captured by Lavanna. Lavanna is the evil sister of the Enchantress who wants to overthrow her and take over Fairytopia by capturing the guardians. So these fungi are spreading out an evil mist that weakens every flying creature, and only she has the antidote. So her master plan is to make everyone sick, then cure them and hope everyone loves her for it. So when Alina's region is hit, she's the only one brave enough to head out on this adventure because she doesn't fly. And of course, she brings alongside her the best character in the movie, her animal sidekick, Bibble. Bibble is a puffball, which is actually a species of mushroom, although I'm not entirely sure how related that is to the Bibble species. He is just a little guy. He's Bibble. He's just floating about, being goofy and mischievous. He is always in his own worlds, doing his own thing. He speaks his own language called Biblingo, but even though that's gibberish to us, in the context of the film, people can understand his speech. Sidekicks are a constant in the BCU. It would not be a nostalgic, girly animated movie without one. And I'm making my stance clear that we love Bibble here, even if there are Bibble haters out there. So they're heading to the nearest kingdom, Fairy Town, and its guardian Azora. There's something so eerie about these spooky locations in early 3D cartoons. They're designed to be scary, but the lower quality dated animation, dingy colours and grainy textures reminds me of all the nightmares I had as a child. It's kind of disturbing. So in Fairy Town, Azora sees a sparkle in Alina's eyes and trusts her with a very magical necklace. But Azora is captured by Laverna with the other guardians.
Get on my back!
No!
I said, get on my back!
I don't even know how to introduce Hugh, this big buff butterfly guy, because his design is such an anomaly. It's so perfectly strange. He has humane arms and legs decked in this fancy outfit, and he's really buff for some reason, yet has such luscious eyelashes and these huge magical wings. He's also British, and he has Alexandria's Genesis. This is an amalgamation only a nostalgic Barbie movie could deliver. There's actually a playset of him and he just looks so much more normal and butterflyish here. It has more of that whimsical girly aesthetic. I need to know Hugh's story. Where are his family? We can also use Hugh as a size comparator for our world versus the fairy world, although that would require an assumption that this is just what all butterflies are like in Fairytopia. On Hugh's back, they take a detour to a mermaid cove. Mermaids are obviously a very big part to Fairytopia, but I don't know whether this is officially considered one of the 7 regions. Nalu is the Prince of Mermaidia, although he was credited as Prince Kai in this film. Obviously, Mermaidia is a rabbit hole we'll delve into, but it seems like they tried to push some kind of romance between these two, but it's so not right to me. I don't know.
You don't have to thank me. I wanted to help.
This is a random comment, but Alina is always doing this with her arms just poking out in a weird position because she has such a poofy dress. Obviously, whether we want to admit it, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, this is essentially a toy commercial. And for what we're working with, the outfits and designs have that flowery, fairy-esque quality that you'd need. Her eyeliner is also very cute. I just love the idea of her sitting in her little flower house applying this intricate eyeliner and pink eyeshadow every day. The animations are very goofy in the entire film, and it's so charming to look back on. Nothing has super complex physics, so everyone moves just a little bit floaty and it can be very awkward and janky. The editing also makes the films very unintentionally funny. There'll be such random pauses between pieces of dialogue, and strange shots are held on for prolonged times that will just make for funny out of context moments. The next location is the Wildering Woods, a swampy dark forest which suffers the most from the outdated visuals in my opinion. It's more creepy in a confusing way. These abominations are in the film for the sole purpose of being annoying. I found these so creepy when I was younger. I think it's the eyes. Is there a society of these people? Like, is their job just nuisance? I want to know how the Fairytopia economy works. If I'm going to leave my boring human life of responsibilities to a fairy realm, which I absolutely plan on doing one day, where is my food coming from? Like, who is building Azula's cottage or all the other fairy houses? So I probably know a little too much about the Disney fairies, and I will absolutely give that world credit for having a distinctly realised society and rules. Fairytopia is a little more wishy-washy and in that airy space, but seeing as it's a world with zero connection to humans, maybe comparing it to human rules is useless. A Dyrad called Dahlia hesitantly joins Alina as they confront Laverna's lair, which looks like a creepy, dirty frying pan, where all 7 of the Guardians are captured, and seeing as they each have a magic necklace and Alina has Azora's, they they can feel Alina's presence. So Laverna sends out her fungi minions. I want to know, are fungus just predisposed to being evil in this world? Are they ugly because they're evil, or are they evil because they're ugly? Are there female fungus? We don't see any. They manage to capture Bibble and co, and Laverna will only let them go if Alina gives up the necklace, and she preys on her weakness, offering wings if she hands it over, which will allow Laverna to harness all of the necklace's powers. I don't fully get what's going on with these necklaces and their magical powers, but I love when animated tales have these evil villainesses with gothy makeup looks and cynical monologues about power. She kind of brainwashed Alina, who almost gives in, but just manages to snap out of it, and with chaotic magical rainbow explosions, Laverna is defeated and everyone is freed. I just want to hug him and pet him. The ending of this film irks me a little bit. Basically, the Enchantress comes and gives Alina this necklace, and it grants her deepest wish to have wings. What made Alina such a hero in the end is that she had selflessly given up the idea of wings to save Fairytopia. So to be granted them minutes later, it could either be seen as a reward for her sacrifice, or a flat narrative conclusion that downplays it, and downplays the movie's message of embracing yourself unconditionally and not judging someone based on differences or disabilities. She just gets cured because Mattel can't sell fairy dolls without wings. But in my opinion, this movie could still deliver the magic fairy feelings while having a character without wings. So narratively, the ending was just a bit of a cop-out. I don't think the story is super strong, and I actually found it a little more boring than some of the other Barbie movies. I can imagine a much more exciting adventure where we're traveling across all 7 regions, but unfortunately we're working with a smaller scope here. Fairytopia was strange, and I don't completely understand this world, but I think that might be a good thing. These movies are imaginative, but they're also dreamlike, and in the mind of my childhood self, or even me now who just wants to escape to a fairy world, I think the vague, floaty atmosphere of this world captured that well. A lot of the concept art is very beautiful, and even if the technology wasn't all the way there for the final product, I still find this colourful and pretty in its own magical way. I also want to give some love for the music in this film. I can already see myself using the instrumentals as relaxing background music while editing this video, and just feeling like I'm in another realm. In the comments, let me know any of the experiences you might have had with this film when you were younger, or even now, because sometimes discovering these as a more mature person can be just as fun. With Fairytopia mostly being a home video release, the DVD itself is a huge element of that. DVD menus themselves are an art form we're quickly losing. These were so quirky and gave so much extra character to these stories and franchises we engaged ourselves in. When a movie finished too early to go to sleep, I would spend too long navigating the menus and bonus features of my favourite films, and Fairytopia had just that. The menus were narrated by Barbie herself, who gives such an eloquent delivery.
I'm glad you're here. There's so much we can discover in the Magic Meadow and throughout Fairytopia.
I just love how everything is themed, and before the movie even begins, you're invested into this world. There's so many little quirks and details we would never get from something like this nowadays, like the flying transitions between menus, Bibble and the little fairies sparkling around, the scene selection is in flowers, there's a butterfly home screen button, and the different UIs are based on locations from the film. Even the help section has a full-on tutorial from Barbie on how to use the TV remote, which was lovely, but I can imagine any kid being turned away by these little abominations. But of course, the #1 time waster was more fairy fun, aka the DVD minigames. The first of these was Boogie with Bibble, where you'd get to teach the puffball 3 types of dance moves: disco, ballet, or hip hop. From there, you'd get an army of Bibble clones with unique dance moves that you get to select in whatever order you'd like to create your own dance routine. Incredibly riveting stuff. I just love his little mischievous sound effects and how unserious his dance moves are. Bibble never change for anyone. Not exactly much of a game, but it's the fun of being able to interact that counts. The doll tie-ins for Fairytopia are very cute, releasing Dandelion, Dahlia, Azura, and Alina in 2 different skin tones. The box art is so 2000s, and I love Alina's dress and the woodland fairy shoes. This tiny bibble that she comes with is beyond cute, and I would protect it with my whole heart. But I can only imagine all the children who owned these dolls and cried upon losing their tiny bibble. Or maybe the bibble haters threw him out their windows and left him to suffer. He even got his own plush, which seems very fluffy, but I can't help but notice how different he looks to the character, who's a bit more chaotic. A very elegant doll of the Enchantress exists, and an Azora's Cottage playset, which I want to live in.
You discover the rainbow to Fairytopia. Fairytopia, a world of wonder.
Typically with these franchises, you'll find that dolls and merchandise released slightly earlier than the film, and back then, Fairytopia existed a little bit differently. In 2003, Fairytopia began as a new Barbie doll line, possibly to establish the movie's world. The first releases were the Magical Mermaid line of Barbie, Christy and Kayla, and then Sparkle Fairy dolls, which have very pretty pearlescent colour schemes in pink, aqua and lavender. On the back of their boxes, it reads, "If you're pure of heart and truly believe, you'll find your way to Fairytopia," which implies it's less disconnected and somewhere as a part of our world. These dolls came with a little pop-up book with some very nostalgic artwork that lets us into this version of Fairytopia, where the fairies and mermaids are having a back and forth in the Sea of Dreams, a location that they trademarked as part of this earlier lore. Then in 2004, a set of 3 Wonder Fairy dolls were released, which had wings that fluttered and were intended to be transformed into a dress. Joybell, the blue fairy, Kindly, the yellow fairy, and Lenara, the purple fairy. The face card on these dolls does not decline. They have shimmery eye makeup and eyelashes, as well as painted tattoos, and their legs are sculpted in this iridescent colour, and each comes with a mini sprite too. And then there were the Petal Pixie pairs of mini dolls. These two came with a story booklet which features some gorgeous artwork that I find to be so mesmerising and whimsical. It's just nostalgic and otherworldly. It also came with a map of Fairytopia tied up with ribbon. It's possible that this was an early version of the map intended to be in the films, or it could just be that the merchandising team and the filmmakers were given the same guidelines and created 2 very similar but slightly different products. Because if we compare the map that came inserted with the DVD, they are different. My guess is that these were intended to be the 7 regions of Fairytopia, but somewhere along the way things got changed, like the Enchanted Meadow becoming the Magic Meadow, which had its own fun little playset. It's also interesting that one of these locations is Spiderella's castle. Who is Spiderella? There is no character in any movie or any dolls as far as I'm concerned, and it's even been trademarked. Probably some kind of earlier version of Laverna's lair would make sense, but perhaps there's just a scrapped version of Fairytopia that we'll never get to see. None of the characters come over to the movies, and despite being marked with Fairytopia branding, we can put these down to the toys just being a different world and less part of the official canon. But it's definitely interesting to look at Fairytopia from before the films. Before we continue, if you are enjoying the video, please leave a like to show your support. I know that a lot of people subscribed from the Disney Fairies video, so I really hope you enjoy me delving into another nostalgic fairy world. But if you are having fun and want me to unlock more childhood memories, then please subscribe so that you never miss another upload. And turning on notifications would also really help. Also, you can now join the Strawberry Sprite Discord. We're building a really cozy and nostalgic community over there, so if you just want to talk with like-minded people or interact with me and see updates for new videos, then check it out in the description and the pinned comment. And if enough people join, I might do some fun events on there, like I want to play the Tinkerbell DS games on there maybe, so enough of me rambling and onto the rest of the video.
There's a magical world where a wonderful adventure awaits. It's Barbie Live in Fairytopia. For the first time ever, Barbie and all the lovable characters from the movie come to life on stage in this enchanting story.
In early 2006, Barbara would make her stage debut in none other than Barbie Live in Fairytopia, a fully staged musical adaptation of the film. This is completely random, but also makes perfect sense as a way to bring this magical world to life. The only catch is that there's no official recordings out there, so it's become kind of lost to time. Luckily, through commercials, set photos and a few snippets found online, we can piece together key elements about how the production looked. The role of Barbie in a musical was very sought after, but a girl named Erin Elizabeth Cause would play Alina, and on the old Barbie website we can see an interview from her on Fairytopia Live's promotional page, alongside other photos and official descriptions. The environments seem nice, but I'm genuinely impressed by the costuming. It looks gorgeous, intricate, and of course sparkly. It's said that over 100 pounds of glitter was used during production, which is wild. Look at this live Bibble puppet. He looks like he's seen some things. A special Bibble plushie was even tied into the production alongside a limited edition Alina doll. I can't tell if Hugh looks cursed or if seeing him humanoid makes a weird amount of sense. The plot of this adaptation supposedly follows most of the same beats and lasted 60 minutes plus an interval. 14 original songs were written and have been archived on the official cast recording, Songs from Fairytopia. It's toured around the United States throughout 2006, and I can only imagine how enthralling this would have been. I've managed to find a few short snippets that have been uploaded to YouTube and an appearance on Good Morning America, and it's exactly about what you'd expect from a Barbie fairy musical aimed at kids.
We're going to a Zera's party. I know, but we gotta push on because our garden is gone. The only thing we can do. We're going to a Zera's party.
But I really hope the lost media detectives out there find this one, because I'd love to transport back to 2006 and live out the live Barbie dreams. Some of the music is quite catchy and has been stuck in my head while researching.
I can rise up above all of my worries and I won't be afraid to fall.
I doubt any of my audience were there, but on the off chance that you were, tell me everything in the comments because I'm dying to know.
This fantastic journey will take her into a wonderful new and enchanted world. The world of Mermaidia.
In 2006, a sequel, Barbie Fairytopia Mermaidia, marked Barbie's 7th animated feature, which was a really fun film in my opinion. I love mermaids just as much as fairies, and I love the dreamy, purpley, bluey aesthetic, even if the technology isn't as advanced as, say, Pixar was putting out at the time. In this film, Alina is approached by this little sea fairy who informs her the mermaid prince has been kidnapped by Laverna because she wants these berries that will make her immune to all magic. So at the Crystal Cove, Alina meets this girl called Nori, who kind of hates her because supposedly she has a thing for Prince Nalu. Nori is an icon, and I want to give her voice actress the praise she deserves because every line is delivered with the utmost audacity and sass.
Nice flying. You weren't trying to ditch me or anything, right? Me? Of course not.
They separately go on their journey to rescue Nalu, but eventually catch up to each other. Can we talk about the elephant in the room? The romantic tension between Alina and Nori. In my head, this is a sapphic love story. And I'm not in the minority because every Letterboxd review I've read on this film acknowledged how perfect of an enemies to lovers romance this is. And Nalu is just their goofy gay man bestie. I don't care what this movie is trying to tell me. I just love this duo. There are these merfairy hybrid children who are obsessed with Bibble, relatable, and they lead the group to Shelly, this seahorse snail creature who is always pulling these smirky expressions, and she takes the girls across a river at Mermaidia's edge.
Open your shell for us? Open my shell?
But of course.
And meanwhile, Nalu is messing around with the fungi minions who captured him. How much farther to the berry? Nori and Alina then have to travel to the depths of despair, but because they're so dangerous, Alina can only go if she gives up her wings for a mermaid tail. So she's given another magical necklace that can temporarily transform her into a mermaid, with the catch that if she stays too long, she may be trapped as a mermaid forever. She's then forced to activate it while saving Nori. The two continue on their journey and continue flirtatiously bickering. So Bibble eats these berries and... okay, let me just show you because either this will shock you or unlock a hidden memory.
Delicious.
Bibble?
Well, hello, Barry.
They eventually reach the surface and find Nalu guarded by the fungi. Bibble, our king, sings in opera to distract them, which is, it's a masterpiece, honestly. So Nalu is freed, but the leader of the fungi has the immunity berry and they fight him off for it. But oh no, Alina's necklace is running out, and right as she makes her heroic climactic moment, leaping into the water to stop Mermaidia from being poisoned, she ends up trapped in her mermaid form. Poor Bibble is then faced with the prospect of permanent separation. So somehow, somewhen, Nori managed to swap out the berry for a fake. Now everyone is saved and Lavana is transformed into this really creepy toad from the berry they swapped, which is said to reveal your true self. Nori suggests that Alina should take one of those berries because maybe her true self would have wings. And while Nori has this sweet monologue about how in love with Alina she's become, she delivers a kind of profound message that even if she doesn't end up with wings, it wouldn't matter because that's just who she is. Seeing as she had lived without wings for so long, her true self, if that's even definable, may not have them, and that's okay. That was probably a little too philosophical for a 2000s Barbie movie though, because yeah, she gets her wings back in the end through a magical sparkly transformation. And despite what we all saw, Nalu and Nori do end up together in the canon. This movie still has those crazy, janky moments you'd expect, and the awkward editing at times, but obviously those are what make the movie so funny. That and the wild character designs. I did find the story a little more interesting this time, at least it felt like it knew what it was doing and had a better direction. And for what it's worth, I appreciate the aquatic atmosphere from the music, the mermaid designs, and the overall aesthetic when you look past the grainy models and textures. It's just comforting and nostalgic. Alina's Mermaidia dolls either have needlessly huge wings or an intricate tail, and there are so many silly mermaid playsets and these interesting dolls of the Merfairies. But there was also a lot of merch unrelated to the movies released under the Mermaidia brand as Fairytopia became its own multimedia world. There's even these little necklaces with tiny multicolored bibbles. The DVD menu for Mermaidia is just as fun and engaging as the fairy counterpart, with Barbie's narration and instructions. I love Mermaidia's aesthetic even more when it's presented like this. I'm obsessed with Alina and Bibble just popping in and out with the mystical music playing. The DVDs would also give previews to upcoming or already released Barbie movies, so you could consume more and more of her adventures. The first of the games was Bibble's silly singing game. Similar to the dancing game, it's more interactive animations where you can watch Bibble sing his heart out in either yodeling, opera, or hip-hop, and interact with voice-changing filters, which is way funnier than it needs to be. Window to Mermaidia is just a clearer look at the menu's backdrop and all these silly animations, but if you click through to the blue shell, you can play the Deep Sea Discoveries game, which is a point-and-click experience with a grand total of 2 levels, where you need to select the right objects it demonstrates a close-up of. The Mermaidia Magical Adventure DVD Activities was a separate release. While Mermaidia branded, it has completely unrelated characters and 3D models in very simple, silly minigames you'd play with the DVD remote. On top of the DVDs, Fairytopia also had promotional websites and online flash games. The Barbie website has had a long history, which is a deep dive for another day, but around the mid-2000s it was full of advertisements and trailers for all of Barbie's movies. In the Mermaidia game, you set out to save Mermaidia and rescue Prince Nalu by decorating through pointing and clicking sea-themed objects, and then dragging pearls, sparkles, and ribbons on Alina to dress her up, and catching the immunity berry in a timed minigame. Your reward is then seeing all the dolls you can buy and being able to print special pictures. Oh, how I miss you, Flash Player. In the website's garden section, you can explore and decorate a 2D map of Fairytopia, and there are a few minigames vaguely connected to the movies that seem to be promoting the dolls more than anything.
Join Alina and her new friends in her most exciting adventure yet. Barbie Fairytopia, Magic of the Rainbow, coming spring 2007.
The third entry in the Fairytopia trilogy, Magic of the Rainbow, released in 2007, which was the 10th Barbie movie overall. For some reason, I remember this being a lot more iconic than it was, but I found it a little bit stale. The new theme for this entry is that Alina is attending a fairy school as she's chosen as an apprentice to learn magic for the Flight of Spring and to create the first rainbow of the season. The film starts again in the Magic Meadow, where Azura informs Alina that she's chosen her as an apprentice, seeing as each guardian gets to choose one fairy. Surely the guardians would select a fairy from the region that they rule over. I don't know why Azura is Alina's motherly figure as opposed to Topaz, the ruler of the Enchanted Meadow. I also noticed right from the beginning, or maybe it's just me, but Bibble gets a lot more screen time and more silly moments in this film. And of course, I love to see more Bibble, and he's still very cute, but they do walk a fine line between irritating me. One of Alina's new friends at the school has her own pet puffball, which is just a pink Bibble, I guess. You know that one meme where it's like male designs versus female designs in an animated movie? You know, an animated franchise is running out of ideas when they introduce a love interest or long lost sibling who's just a clone of a marketable character. The implications are that this is romantic and that Bibble is now in love. But in my eyes, Bibble is an independent puffball, so I did not like this side plot and I find Dizzle a little bit creepy. Some people may get mad at Star Wars declining or whatever, but here we analyze the decline in Bibble's character in Barbie Fairytopia. I feel like somewhere deep in Bibble's mind, he's like this omnipotent, all-knowing being who chooses to float around and do whatever Bibble does. Little is known about the intricate lore of the puffball species, so it's entirely possible. Maybe. I love how Bibble is the one thing from this movie that I still see referenced today. Random Bibble memes will go viral, or I'll just see silly Bibble edits, weird costumes, DIYs and cosplays. Just Bibble being in the social media sphere. There was a huge rumour and joke that Bibble died in 2013, but I'm here to clear up the rumours and tell you all that Bibble is still alive in my heart. Okay, back to actually looking at this movie. Alina encounters some of these silly new characters. Firstly, Lyndon, who is suggested to possibly be a love interest in the very vague Barbie movie way. Then there's Pixie, who is literally Pinkie Pie.
Maybe we should go get her.
And then Alina's new nemesis, Sunburst. The interaction between these two are so funny because of the voice actors giving so much sass, and it's just so oddly edited. I love how silly and unserious all the character interactions can be. Although, while I get that they're mermaids, so it wouldn't really make sense, I really wanted the trio of Alina, Nori and Nalu to return. Meanwhile, Laverna is wishing for revenge, and because she's a frog, she kind of tricks Alina into thinking she's this poor animal who's been cursed and that she needs to reverse the spell, which obviously ends up turning Laverna into a fairy again. And so Alina feels very guilty and ashamed, and she tells the Guardians, but because Laverna transformed Max Fungus into a frog, it looks like Alina is lying. There's a lot of body swapping and disguises because actually Sunburst is apparently now Laverna in disguise, and Alina goes to search for the real Sunburst. Meanwhile, the Enchantress is at the fairy school, and there's this big climax where all the apprentices combine their powers into Alina, who gets her magical transformation with the huge rainbow wings from the box art, and Laverna is destroyed again, thus concluding the iconic Barbie Fairytopia movie trilogy. This film is cute, but I didn't love it as much as the other two. The settings are very nostalgic though, because it's surrounded by atmospheric forest fairy sounds, and sets like the Crystal Courtyard are very magical. And I always love how camp the villains are and how hard the voice actors seem to go.
What a wonderful day to spread our wings and explore all the joy a day can bring.
Did you know that there exists a special soundtrack CD featuring 9 original recorded songs inspired by the movie's story? Am I the only one who found it weird that they wrote and produced all of these songs just to use in a random CD release and not just made the movie a musical? Part of me wants to believe that there's a scrapped version of this film, but honestly I don't believe that. I'm not going to analyze them in depth. Obviously this was just a fun set of music aimed at children with a musical theatre touch, but I think it's interesting to archive their existence.
I must meet her there, Bibble.
I can't get over how unserious this is. In the world of streaming, social media and digital music, we're more likely to get something like YouTube music video tie-ins or shorts than these relics of the 2000s. I don't think I'll be adding these songs to my playlist, but there's a little bit of charm here, and I just find it interesting to discover these oddities I never knew existed. You know the drill with these DVDs by now. Magic of the Rainbow still had that extra touch.
The bibble bounce. Swirl a twirl. And through rush.
Besides the DVD of the movie itself, you could play a full Barbie Fairytopia Rainbow Adventure DVD game, which I made the wise decision of finding. Okay, so womp womp, I can't play it because the DVD I got is region locked, £2.50, down the drain. I guess I won't be getting my 30 minutes of gameplay. But aside from some of the original story cutscenes, the entire game is essentially a feature on the Magic of the Rainbow DVD anyway. I use game lightly. There's only so much you can do with the TV remote. It's more or less just an interactive exploration of some locations from the films in a choose your own path style, with Barbie voiceovers and some occasional mini games for young kids. This game came bundled in with the deluxe version of this movie's Alina doll, and there was the ability to maneuver it so that the doll acted as a controller for the game. And while I couldn't try it myself, and I imagine it to be a little gimmicky and clunky, I can still see this being a fun and innovative quirk. Speaking of the dolls, a wave of Lumina, Sunburst and Glee, who each had unique wings and fun hairstyles, were released, and I love the colour scheming on these girls, although I'm not too sure how to feel on the pixie dolls. In the film, Alina's guy friend has this peculiar goat fairy creature, and even though it only has a few moments of screen time, a bunch of these guys were released as toys, and a few fun playsets of the characters' dorm rooms, and most randomly, these mini dolls attached to one of those bubble blowing ones. A few more unrelated mermaid and fairy dolls under the branding would release, and of course the Barbie cinematic universe would continue on, disconnected from the world of Fairytopia, which flew back into its hidden realm as a fever dream from our imagination. I'm not super acquainted with the Barbie Mariposa films, which are kind of spin-offs or supposedly in the same world. The first film has a prologue where Alina is telling Bibble the story of the film, but if people enjoy this video, I would love to explore the realm of the Barbie Fairyverse even further, so just let me know in the comments. As I've said, Fairytopia has remained fairly relevant online, mainly through Bibble, especially as it resurfaces thanks to a recent endeavour from Barbara. I had so much fun revisiting this world, and I'd love to hear all of your experiences with Barbie Fairytopia or any of the Barbie movies in the comments below. If you did enjoy, a like would really help me out, and if you want me to unlock more childhood memories or analyse nostalgic worlds and franchises, subscribe so that you never miss another upload. Thank you to everyone who's watching. I'm so grateful, and I read every single comment, so any of your words really make me smile. Again, if you want to, you can go to the Discord. I do have a channel in there for video suggestions, so if you have anything you want me to talk about, then I would love to hear from you. Yeah, thank you all so much for everything. I'm working hard on more videos, so it just feels so amazing to have people watch the stuff that I put so much love into, because it's just really fun and whimsical, and yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling. Keep spreading love, and hopefully you'll see me in my corner of the world again soon.